justice no longer finds its way through the laws of this city, I'm prepared to risk it all. Even Ivorfall itself.
How is he not down yet? This is impossible!
What did you put in this?
Always grabbing the fancy guns, huh?
Flintlock, even stripped of your badge, you still don't give up playing the savior, do you? Enough talk! Let's settle this with our guns, Flintlock, as it was always meant to be.
I have been sitting here for minutes and minutes trying to come up with some sort of pun on Ivorfall, and the best I can have is Ivor tripped and then Ivorfall, but that's a terrible pun, and so I shouldn't have even said it. But welcome back, everybody. The footage you just saw was from a game called Ivorfall, and we actually have a couple members of the dev team here with us. Do you two want to introduce yourselves? Tell us what you have done on Ivorfall, and well, your names as well, please.
All right, I am Kyla, and I am the lead producer and the project manager for Inquiry Games.
And I'm Luke Cairns. I'm the lead designer, and I'm also a producer for Inquiry Games.
All right, so what is Ivorfall? A twin-stick shooter,
yes.
But fill in the blanks, please, because that is not a good enough description.
Yes, so Ivorfall is a steampunk roguelike twin-stick shooter where you play as the vigilante Detective Flintlock as he uses his questionable methods, which include environmental destruction and weapon modifications, as he tries to take back the city from a corrupt political figure and his goons.
I don't know if we'd call those questionable methods. I think those are pretty downright bad methods, but super fun to play as. Okay, so you play a detective who is searching for answers, who will stop at nothing as he explores this city. Ivorfall is a very unique game. I know the game didn't always start out being just called that. Tell me a little bit about the title and the evolution of that.
So it started out as Inquiry of Ivorfall, which is what it, if you tuned in last semester, this is actually like what it ended up as. It was Inquiry of Ivorfall at the time because initially when the game was conceptualized, the detective element was a lot more of a core gameplay piece for it. However, as time went on, we realized that people wouldn't have resonated as much with the detective elements as much as they like blowing stuff up. So ultimately we ended up just dropping the Inquiry, naming it after the city, and going from there.
I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool because, don't get me wrong, detective elements can and often are amazing. But I find it awesome that you listen to your player base and you were like, well, let's adjust to we're going to find that fun, right? So when you talk about finding the fun, Kyla, you mentioned weapon modifications. I know that is a big part of this game, as well as the destructible environments. Please tell us more about that.
Yes, so you have your primary weapons, as you saw with the blunderbuss, the Tommy gun, and the sniper. Well, as you saw in the gameplay, you can destroy the environment, destroy the weapons, like the enemies, and they can potentially drop weapon modifications. You saw a cog, you saw a little lightning bolt for electricity, and you saw oil. You can pick those up for weapon modifications, and that will alter the base behavior of your primary. Each of the modifications happens on your primary, so each like the blunderbuss, the Tommy gun, and the sniper will all have different behaviors based off of those weapon modifications. So you'll have up to, like, I believe, 9 modifications.
9 modifications. If you include just the base guns itself, there are 12 different ways to play, and if you throw in power-ups and different other items in the game, there are even more than that.
That is fantastic. So you're going for the fast-paced arcade style pick up and play and destroy. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so.
So this is a game. I know that throughout the 2 semesters that you've been working on this, you had a lot of time playing in the gymnasium, trying to I am really glad I mentioned that when I did the little bouncy saw gear thing. I know that that's gone through a lot of iterations. When you talk about all those power-ups and everything, was it difficult to dial them in, or did you just find hey, whatever the cool, most awesomest stuff is, that's what we're gonna put in there?
So the design process for this game is something that I personally was very intertwined with, and balancing this game was probably my biggest struggle I've ever faced as a designer. There are so many moving parts and different elements and ideas and so many moving pieces that trying to conjoin it all into one fluid functional experience was really hard to nail down. But as time went on, we ultimately ended up kind of honing in on the balance and finding that right niche, exactly where we wanted to be.
You died? So you mentioned that's one of the and definitely balancing stuff, especially when there's a ton of variables, that can be very, very difficult. So I'm glad you found a place where you're happy with it. Kyla, what about you? More as the producer getting this game made. Were there any challenges that rise to your mind as far as oh yes, this was the big hurdle that we had to clear?
Pretty smooth, honestly. There were a few little hurdles. For instance, the second half of our big sprints. So this semester that we just got over, we decided, let's add some narrative. So wanting to find some voice actors, which we actually got some professional voice actors, believe it or not.
Awesome.
And getting that into the game, getting cinematics into the game, as you saw a little preview. We also decided 1 month away from release to add a mini boss instead and make some little minor tweaks to our base gameplay.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. But it's been very, very smooth, and our team has been absolutely incredible throughout this entire process.
That's awesome. As far as your team breakdown goes, did you have, as far as those balancing things like that, did you have an abundance of designers? Did you have a lot of engineers to get it all working correctly? How did the breakdown of your team go?
It ultimately ended up kind of working out almost exactly how we wanted it to be. We ended up having everybody on the team ended up pulling their weight in every regard, and we ended up having a decent spread of everybody on the team. We had a good number of engineers, a good number of designers, so we had enough to where we could allocate the resources we needed, but not oversaturate in one specific thing. And if that did happen, we just shift them over, and everybody was willing to do so.
Oh, that is fantastic. That is the ideal situation for a student game. All right. If people want to play Ivorfall, I noticed that at the beginning it said Steam and the Epic Game Store. I think you were one of the first undergrad teams to go to the Epic Game Store. How do people find you? Just Steam, look for Ivorfall. Epic Games, look for Ivorfall. Is it available now?
Yes, we are actually available now on Steam, and within the next few days, we will be available on Epic. Our store is available, but we are currently in the process of getting our build validated on Epic Games, but within the next few days, it will be available. We are also, just look up on Google, just Ivorfall, and we will pop up. Google actually recognizes us as a video game, so we are very available.
That is fantastic. So everyone who's watching, it is available on Steam now. Open up Steam as we are talking and download it right now. Thank you both for joining me on the couch today and for showcasing your awesome cel-shaded steampunk twin stick weapon upgrading chaotic adventure with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, it looks absolutely fantastic. We're going to be back.